Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Not Plumbers Unite, or recommending plumbers in Fredericks, Maryland. But I do have a great plumber to recommend there. But it is Creatives Ignite, and I am here with my really good friend, Dameon Williams, who I went to pick up from the airport, the airport shuttle, and he looked like he had never met me in my life. And I was like, I told you 3 weeks ago I was going to pick you up. And it was like, we called it Uber. I'm like, well, I can be your Uber, get in the car. Anyway, it sort of was like he was scared of me. And I'm really short and small. And Dameon's seen me many times in real life. I didn't think I was scary. Was it just you were shocked?
I was shocked. We had spoken and you said, yeah, you were going to pick me up. So true to your word. But now, anytime I call Uber, if I don't see you, now I'm alarmed and scared. So you ruined that experience. Thanks a lot, Diane.
Well, now you always have a ride.
Hi, Amy.
You always have a ride. So we got some other people, obviously, from your area, Raleigh. I know Maura's in Cary, North Carolina. So we got North Carolina. You are in North Carolina. You are in Durham. I don't know if you're in Durham right this second.
Yeah, right this second. I live in Raleigh, but currently I am working in Durham.
Okay, so you're working in Durham, living in Raleigh. My sister lives in Raleigh. So, Dameon's all good people. So I get to talk to Dameon once every 2 weeks, if not more than that. And I love hanging out. And Dameon and I have done some fun. He's taught me things on the iPad. He's an amazing illustrator. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about today is that he does this really cool thing in February. You actually do a lot of challenges. You've done, other people's challenges. You do, like inktober. It's something you've used to help you grow. And
absolutely.
This week on the podcast is about what we're hopefully supposed to be doing is about recharging your own batteries. So this whole month is love on designers, love on illustrators, love on creatives. And at other weeks, we've helped other people and picked people up. But I really think that this exercise that you're going to talk to us about today has really been a booster for you in recharging your batteries. Now he will work regular, right? But on his lunch break, he's doing Skillshare and he's learning things and he's connecting and he has grown so much. You learn things so fast, I think, but I think it's because you have this habit of learning and habit of practice, and you grow and you try new things. So just in case people don't know, tell them who you are and where you are and what you do.
All right. My name is Dameon Williams. I am an illustrator, a designer. I'm currently doing that full time, I'm happy to say. Yes, but prior to that, for years, I was working, I did design out of school and then went into something completely foreign, which was healthcare, which was awesome. Did that for 20 something years, 24 years, not a big deal.
Yeah. But it wasn't it still is caring for people, and you were solving things, and you had to do a lot of UX in right while you were there.
You have to, there's a lot of brainstorming, a lot of different things, because I'm trying to fit people in wheelchairs and then take care of them with oxygen. There's a lot of stuff you have to do, very UX-ish, because at the end of the day, it's always about how we can better help the user or client or patient. And I would do that. And I love the fact that I worked in a hospital. The empathy part was what essentially I needed to pick up. As an early designer coming out of school, it was great, but I was a little big-headed. And
I can't imagine that, to be honest.
It's crazy, full of myself. Like some younger people can be, and
older people. It's not just a young people disease.
Absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But we do these different things, and sometimes we do it primarily for us. What makes us feel good about our designs, and of course, it's important that we like what we do. but we are trying to do things for other folks, for users to help them out, or clients, or whatever the situation, however you want to label it. And there at the hospital, I just, I got the art part right, but I really needed to do the people part and understand that. And it helped me become a better artist, because I was still doing a little part-time work while working full-time at the hospital. And I found that my work was a little bit more informed. I had a lot more emotion coming, or I was told anyway, coming from characters I would draw, and, the way they would emote and just relate to each other. These things are hugely important when you want children or adults or anybody to relate to the little characters you put on paper.
Yeah.
So, that all that, I say that to say that, it's been a journey, but one that I wouldn't have predicted, but I'm honestly blessed to continue at this point to live. It's been pretty awesome.
But last year you made a big switch. You went to a design position where you are utilizing your illustration, but you're also utilizing your people skills in team building and listening as you're listening to clients, listening to fellow people in the office. Yeah, coworkers. And there's really, you have such a gift there. And it's funny because as you're like, how in the heck is this hospital job going to affect me? But how does it help me in what I do in design now? And I think you've seen, because me and you've talked lots, you've seen lots of throughways where you're like, hey, I learned this when I was in the hospital, or I designed this because in the hospital, nobody knew how to use this machine. And I made it like the COVID thing. You can tell them about that if you want.
Yeah. We had a situation. Well, I mean, the long and short of it is COVID happens. We discover oxygen is an important thing. There are the classic oxygen tanks that a lot of us have seen, but there are these machines out there that help, that, do what the oxygen tanks do, except they don't necessarily run out, not like a tank would. And we were issuing these things to folks, but we couldn't go in room, especially at that point, because they were trying to minimize the number of people coming in the room. A lot of nurses didn't know necessarily how to use this stuff. So for us, it was important to teach, but we had no proper guides to help folks. I designed one because I was tired of seeing all these frustrated nurses. And of course, I figured the patients are going to be frustrated. They're in the middle of trying to recover. And, you want to make these things simple. And sometimes these people create great, great things, but they don't really think about the end user. I mean, they do in the sense that they want to keep you alive, sure, but how do I use this equipment, this tool? Sometimes that part gets missed or is not as clear. Or
they'll think everybody will get it because they think everybody thinks the same way they do, right?
Right.
And this was like something just extra you did because it needed to be done so that it could communicate, so that they could give better care to the patients. They didn't have to poke and prod, and they knew how to they could use this machine easier. And I just love that you used your design to solve this skill, but it was also the empathy, because you knew that you could see the frustration either in the patients or in the medical staff. Yeah.
Right. Little things like that. And if anybody's curious, you can always go to my Instagram page. It's Dameon_Williams.
Oh, I've got it.
You will see it as God knows what post, but it's there. I remember it should be there.
But they can start looking there as well.
Yeah. Just dig there. You'll see a whole bunch of different cool things.
Okay.
Including a lot of my ABCs of February.
Okay.
ABCs of February.
Okay. So I want to talk about this. So this is one of the things. So in this week of Love on Designers, you're supposed to do something. I would like for all of y'all to do something for yourself. So sometimes I am often the last person on my list, and now I've got 3,000 windows. I've tried to open the Instagram 3 times, I think, and now it's like opening 3 different windows of it. Anyway, so this week, this third week of February, whichever wherever we are, this is the week that you're supposed to do something for you. So Dameon, this was something that was really impressive to me, is that while you were working at the hospital and even now while you have a design job, you still really make it a priority all the time. Maybe not every single 52 weeks of the year, but you make it a priority to keep learning.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
so how have you been able to make that happen? Because you're also pretty personable. So this is what I would think. If me and you worked in the same office and you were like, I'm going to lunch, I'd be like, I'll go to lunch with you. Does that ever happen? And you're like, it's my learning day, Diane, right? What?
No, they despise me here, so I don't have any friends. No,
No, they don't. I know they
no,
don't.
they know I'll go off and to the car or whatever and watch usually something on Skillshare. Love Skillshare and constantly learning from that. And sometimes it will be the LinkedIn Learning or whatever or YouTube. Um, there are many ways to learn. You just want to always you be curious, see what's out there. I do it for YouTube all the time. A tutorial, God knows there are tutorials out there. You won't be in love with all of them, but try. A lot of these things are super quick. It won't take forever. If you have at least 45 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, spend the time to do a tutorial, post it. And yeah, it will be just like everybody else's if they want to do their same little thing. And you can just tweak, make some minor changes, but it's more or less about the process. So you get to know about how other people, creative people like you, think, know your tools. I use Procreate primarily, so it's a great way for me to, with all the updates, stay on top of the newest, the latest, the greatest to help our process out, make things faster. It helps on so many levels. You get to see what other people are thinking. You get to learn with as far as the tools, and get to expand your repertoire.
So is this something you would do on a daily basis, 5 days a week, 3 days a week, 1 day a week?
So I'll try to do something on weekends. So weekends where you have a little bit more time. If you can't do it during the week, definitely try the weekend. Like I said, these mini tutorials won't take too long. For me during the week, I may not be able to apply that, so I can watch the video, but I can't. And for me, I like to have video on like my television while I'm drawing, or have it on the computer. Either way, that's for me kind of a weekend thing. During the week, it's a little tougher. I can, take in the video, but for me, I want to do video and actively apply it. Otherwise, you may not remember. It's great, if you want to pre-game it, you can do that too. Nothing wrong with that.
So you have to know how you're learning. If you're a audible learner, if you're a visual learner, if you're a tactile learner, and sometimes there's combinations. Most of the time there's combinations in there. So you like to put it on the big screen and then be able to do and pause. Do you pause while it's happening, or?
Yeah. If you want to be able to pause, do a rewind if you need to. For me, it's a big screen. It could be on my computer because I'll work on my tablet. So as long as I have two different screens happening, to have it all on the same screen, that's not going to work. Not for me. But if I could do big screen, then just, I could pivot and then move on to watching from television to actively drawing or putting it into practice on my tablet, because that's usually what happens.
Okay, so I just want to kind of go back. You've done ABCs of February a few times. So what?
This would be number 6.
This is number 6. That's quite more than a few. It's 3 couples of a few, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I'm just showing you my math skills, my math skills. That's right. So what started you to do it? And because So Inktober, you've done that as well. I don't know how many times you've done that, but you've done that. And that's like sometimes it's a prompt that somebody else is giving you, and there are
Hmm.
some limitations. So is ABCs of February similar? Because I think you always kind of create your own parameters for this. Is that how it started for you?
Yeah. Well, it was, you're right. I would do challenges like Inktober and whatever other challenges that would happen throughout the year. I would post things on Instagram. It's just fun to do, to, jump in the challenge. And it may be daily, it may be 3 times during the week or whatever. Daily is awesome. It's a lot, but you can truly see um, what you're capable of. And that stuff, things like that, prepared me to do something like the ABCs of February. February came one year, like 2018 or so, and I thought, it'd be cool to, if I could do from A to Z, different people in Black history, known and unknown. Can I do it? Can I even do this? So I'm like, well, okay, let me give it a go. So it was Photoshop I used for that first one, and I told myself I would try to do different styles. You try to change it up, style to style, whatever style. Harriet Tubman, I'm just gonna paint it, or this one's gonna be this or that. And it kind of worked. It worked out pretty well. Um, it was after that I decided I was going to do a little bit more of a theme for the whole month of a certain style, but not only that, a theme of what the focus would be. It's not just it has to be a person in Black history. This was about people in medicine or whatever the situation, whatever the theme was. So each one, I have to say, has been pretty cool. There's been a theme for each and every one, and I learn. I learn every year, every time I do it. But it's fun. It's mostly about the challenge, though, and just to learn and to hear people after the fact say, "Man, I had no idea. I didn't either." But now we just discovered that this person came up with the ice cream scoop, or this person, mobile refrigeration.
Yeah,
No one thinks about that, but it was a Black dude that came up with that. Crazy.
that's awesome. Okay, so um I have it pulled up. So I'm going to share. This is like the very bottom of your right. So
Oh yeah,
this is I went all the way.
I remember that.
So again, I kind of like seeing all the way back because we can see how far you've how you've changed and how you've grown.
That's why I
So
keep it.
I appreciate it because it gives me hope as I am a more of a budding illustrator. So some of these, I think, let's just click on this guy. This is 2017.
Oh yeah,
So
pen and I think pen and ink for that one or
yeah,
something like
pen and
that.
ink. It looks like pen and ink. So and this maybe is Inktober or one of the first
Mm-hmm.
Inktober's. And
Mm-hmm.
then so the ABCs of February, you said in 2018, was that the first one?
I think it was, yeah.
So is this is it. So 2018. So you're seeing styles. So what was this just you picking things, or is there like an Inktober? Is there a prompt list from companies or people who do this?
No list.
Okay,
It's
no
like, you know
list.
what? I think I literally grabbed a book or went to a website and went, all right, Black history, all the A's,
Mm,
and decided I pulled who the person for the A and did it for B and C, especially at this point, that first one. And I was trying a bunch of different brushes from at that point, yeah, because it was Photoshop. So I'm sure Kyle Webster.
yeah.
I'm pulling some brushes and trying a lot of at that point his stuff. Uh,
And and stylistically, you're still exploring. So I like
oh
this
yeah,
kind of more grungy. I think you guys can see my mouse. Some more grungy, but you know, there's definitely like this is very different than she, and then
oh
these
yeah.
guys are more different. And so there's something that happens later on. as you, and I love just you still putting your hand, pen to paper kind of sketches as well in there. Love that. Lots of creative South there. Anybody
Yep.
want a volunteer ticket? We got volunteer tickets, people. So then we have.
I'm a volunteer.
I
I'm
know.
just saying, folks, come and volunteer. Anyway, I'm sorry,
right.
Diane.
No. So I'm just trying to kind of get an idea. So this is June of 2018. So you're doing maybe some more digitally. And then we're continuing on, and I'm going to get, and it's very clear when we get to the ABCs of February at this point, right? So we see there's the Inktober. There's another one that's prompt list, I think. And these are all Inktober, maybe 2018. Yep, 2018.
Yep. This was for a nonprofit I was working with at a point in time, collecting socks and clothes for homeless folks.
Oh, I love that. And then we see some that are looking like they're going in a series. And I actually think this is one of the beauties of doing a challenge like this, is so that you can either explore different styles or you can really hone in. And I feel like that's what you've done in a lot of these. So you started here. I think this is with actual pen and paper, right?
That was it? Or at this point, I'm sure it was a lot of the digital. In fact, I'm pretty sure that was digital.
Okay. So, but this is the end of 2018. So there is a ton of exploration, but that's kind of, it starts with that sort of line work. And then you see some of these from maybe past ABCs of February.
From the first, I believe, or first or second, or maybe the first. And that, I put it on frames, got those things printed on frames. And I think that was my first outing, actually taking it to a cafe and displaying those in, a physical form.
Yeah, that's awesome. They're like super slow to load. Sorry. So then you always kind of have this, you've set this brand for the ABCs of February. So again, maybe you change the colors and you change kind of the background, but you have figured out that you are not going to reinvent the title each time, which I think is pretty nice. I think maybe this year it changed a little bit, but for this one, for the second volume, as we kind of scroll up, so we see it's in a circle a lot, but then a lot of exploration as well here. So on Procreate, was there a theme, or did you think about doing a theme yet for this?
I didn't necessarily say that. And this was the first year where I actually had the ABCs of February as a title, because I didn't really have it the first one. This one, I knew I wanted to do the circle thing, as you can see. And it was all about inventors or trailblazers. So it was about inventions and people that were trailblazers of some sort.
Awesome. Okay. So color palette, you're kind of trying different things, even style of people are, how you're doing their nose or how this is more cartoony. I mean, I love this perspective there. So just all different. I mean, you're really exploring. I think it's helpful to see is, as you look back, are you seeing anything like, oh yeah, I see this sun, and I think that is one of your styles. Do you see the sun I'm talking about? Right. And you've got the retro. And just like the stylistic of it's kind of big in that face. And then there's that sort of retro supply, and that's limited color palette. Right. And then we have, more like this probably looks like what the person is. And that's something else you and I have talked about when you're doing your ABCs of February, sometimes there's not a photograph of the
person, the subject.
So you're kind of just guessing.
Yeah. Sometimes you would just have to do whatever, like in the baby buggy. I don't think there was a picture of the person, but there was a picture of the actual invention you can see in the background with the when they had their little blueprint. So then, if I can't do the person, then I'm going to at least do the actual invention. So there are ways around that.
Yeah. Okay. So then I just want people to be able to see. Look, there's me and you. So then we see this guy with his little. That's kind of like your son. I think that as like one of your
Yeah.
one of your styles. You do have multiple styles. So one of the questions I had asked is how long you've been doing this. So this is your 6th year. You do love history. So this is something that you're now able to connect history
Oh yeah.
and your illustration. And then for the next year, so I don't know what year I'm in right now. How do you maybe this no?
Yep. 1619 project.
Okay.
When it first came out, I was just absolutely now it's a Hulu television series, but in a book. But at that point, it was um, just a New York Times essay, and there was a podcast made, and for each of the episodes, I wanted to do a one line drawing
Mm-hmm.
for the theme of the episode, or see if I could do it. Again, it's always a challenge. Can I do it? The minstrel show. I did that little minstrel person there.
Oh my gosh, I know. That is
Can I do it
super
with one line?
hard. Yeah. So these are digitally on Procreate. So some of
Mhm.
these are challenges. This is all still while you're working at the hospital,
Very
right?
much so. Yes.
So then we do Inktober and we see more of a like these are like Monopoly people kind of, or the
Yeah, I
that
wanted to that
right?
little. It was. I was trying to find a mid-century-ish character or create one
Mhm.
or take elements from. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna base it around this dude.
It even expands just because you're creating more scenes or more things that are going on, but this is like a really 30 days of a style of
Right.
right. So this is one of the first ones that's really cohesive and really long because it's hard
Right.
sometimes to do something like that. Okay, so that's October, and then we're going to see where it says volume 3. Okay, so then we have ABCs of February again. And I see where those lines from the 1619 where you were exploring, you
Hmm.
found something that you liked. You thought, hey, this is what are some of the things where it's something that you're doing daily and maybe you do a little bit of pre-prep, but you have to fit this in. So what are some of the parameters if somebody like me was going to start doing something, what after doing 6 of these, what I mean, we can see that they get more cohesive, but they're also maybe you have a clear style. They're not any easier to figure out how to do a one line, but you know how long something like that is going to take. So what are some of the parameters that you kind of look for when you're going to do a project like this?
Or something like this because of where it's set in February, and we've talked about this before. I'm going to. It's going to be October, honestly, for me, and I'll think about it throughout the year. But October is the time when I'm really trying to nail down. Okay, do I feel good about doing a theme of music or whatever the situation? And I get to start. I start with the research, and I'm taking notes of different things from A to Z, but just just notes, whatever. We're not necessarily worried about the letters at that point. Let's just draft something together and get as much information as we can, and then you can kind of fill in the gaps as you get closer to February. For me, if we're getting a week's work, a week's worth of stuff done for that first week, and have it done prior to February starting, because I like doing things as the month actually goes on. So if you can do a week or 2 weeks, then you're feeling really good by the 1st of February or the first of whatever your month is. So just do some prep work, give yourself a few months um, to kind of prepare mentally and just creatively for whatever you're going to do. Or give yourself some time. It may not have to be months, depending on what you're doing. But day to day, you're going to feel the pressure of submitting. Like today, I'm actively doing, but I don't think I submitted for today. Typically I try to do like something in the morning, but sometimes things happen. You get tied up, and as long as I do it before the end of the day, then I'll be good. And for the most part, most of the people that follow me are pretty cool about checking it out when they check it out and not giving me grief about it. So, give yourself some grace and some space, but kind of pace yourself.
I just wanted to bring this up since this was one of the ones we talked about in the beginning.
That's right.
This is that piece. If you are following, I will put it, I'm going to copy it and paste it, and I'll put it in the chat, but I'm also going to put it in some notes for myself for later so that I can make sure I add it to the site.
Yes.
Because this was again, something that we talked about earlier. Do you want to just give a little recap on this one? And then I'm going to go back to the ABCs of February.
Yeah. Like I said before, this little oxygen machine, we call it, this particular brand is the Oxy-like machine, but it essentially just gives you oxygen, provides oxygen for the patient. It doesn't run out. You plug it up. It's taken from the air and kind of reproducing so that you have your full oxygen there. But and this was done in Procreate, as most of my stuff these days, is coming from that program on the iPad.
Right.
I know the basic steps of what I teach people, so I try to make it as simple as possible and work on my phrasing and pull some pictures from websites and smack this thing together, put it together, and display it in a way that kind of moves from 1 to 4 as easy as possible. I would try it with folks and the patients to see if they understood it. This happens to be this is the English one, but if you flip it, you'll see it in Spanish. Because we have an English and Spanish population, huge where we are. So it's important that it was easy for everybody to kind of, especially because this was primarily for a lot of people with COVID.
Right.
You don't have the time or the patience or even maybe the energy to, try to figure out how to work this machine. So this little card here, hopefully did the job and made a difference for some folks.
Absolutely.
The staff and the patients.
And it combined empathy, UX, and then your illustrations, which I think is a really unique trifecta that you have. So we see these kind of illustrations in here, and I know I'm still on his Instagram handle, and you do get more detailed. I think there's more detail and there's more tonal in this one because you maybe had more time. But you have actually, people have come to you, clients. You have done these longer projects that we can see and that we've just seen in. So we're now in the next October, and this is the volume 4. And so we have a different theme for this one.
Revolutionary War.
Pardon?
The U.S. Revolutionary War.
Okay, Revolutionary War. So color palette, you kept it simple.
Keep it simple.
It has a feel of like a kid's, maybe retro little book that we would go through, right? So, and that was what you were going for.
Right.
Because you wanted to be able to teach something, but you wanted to also be able to capture. You didn't have to want to do the whole scene if you didn't, 'cause sometimes you don't have that much time, right?
Yeah, sometimes you don't. And then honestly, do we need a whole scene? Yeah, we're trying to introduce that one person, so it's easier to absorb when we simplify it and, stick to, in this case, I think I did the most colors, but I'm also being mindful that I'm doing this on Instagram, where you do have 3 next to each other and it's going to be stacked a certain way. So yeah, a lot of this was thought about when it comes to where you happen to be posting this thing. If you're going to do it on Twitter or Facebook, it's going to be displayed differently.
Right.
So you're being mindful of, course, the platform. In this case, Instagram, just it worked for me for the look.
Okay, so then from this is a style that you kind of developed, and we can see it because we're zooming through your years of Instagram here.
Right.
and we see where you're still exploring doing other things. You're doing still has some of other styles of illustration. And then, but you have gotten work from, or you have chosen this style, or clients have come to you saying, hey, I like how you do people's heads. We need this. Can you do this? And you can now say, here's styles. Instead of just being a one-off, you actually have multiples to show them. Is that something that happens often, or is that something that you're able to touch back and then use with a client?
It is, especially because you're having me go down memory lane too. And just recently with Lenore Ryan at the college or university, I was doing a cover for their alumni magazine, and that came up. Like, you know what? I do like the line art. I know it's further up there on my feed, but that was a situation where they had seen so much, and they said, so with all that displayed on the Instagram, they're like, well, you know what? I think that same look could work for two of our administrators. Maybe you can kind of do a sketch and see. I sketch it up in pencil. Everybody feels good about it. Then I go back in pen and do it. And then I added that to my whole line of the linear or the one line drawings. So, you're just building upon what you do, so that now it's at the point where for all of these projects, a lot of people will go to my Instagram and say, okay, I like such and such and this, and this. Can you do that style for whatever project I'm pitching to you? And I'll say, yeah. And then we kind of move from there. And for the most part, it stays in that same ballpark. So I use this like a portfolio, and they'll go and find what they like. They're going to find something, or something close to what they're imagining. And then we kind of run with it from there. So yeah, that happens all the time.
So, and then and I had you and Josh on, and you talked about the Tulsa Race Massacre, how y'all kind of put this little book together. I mean, it is like a book, because if you go back, you can go through the whole thing, and each day has multiple. I don't want to rehash this because we've already done this, but so I saw another one where it was in that the line in the circle where you were teaching something, kind of like you were here in the Tulsa Race Massacre. So up here, like with this one, and maybe with the Alice Walker one also, so you add some animation, but then there was also either this quote, so had you done that sort of teaching more? So it seems like in volume 2 or volume 4 of ABCs, it was more of like just one page. It wasn't a lot of carousels going deeper. Right. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. It was Josh, because it's many projects Josh had at that point he'd done with the use of carousels that made it so much easier, and little mini books he was doing, almost like little golden books. And you would read it and feel like, okay, I got everything I needed from that. And it worked so well that when we paired together, and he brought a lot of that aspect to the ABCs, it just made sense. I felt like I was getting way too wordy, too verbose with some of my posts prior to that, and it allowed me to not bore people to death. Give them the quick blurbs, so that it was enough that if they want to go further and do their own research, they could. But they also walk away feeling like, okay, I did learn one little nugget today. And the carousel made that possible. So, it was just the evolution of the ABCs. And I'm hugely grateful to Josh for helping me kind of make that transition.
Well, and I can just see, I know this is one y'all did together. So we see where you started we see how it's expanded and your illustrations have gotten richer, as well as what you're teaching us in the way. And so I
Right.
think this is where we come to this year. So this
Mm-hmm.
year you decided why to do. I tell my mom, I'm like, I can't say that word good. Rural.
I know.
Anyway, my mom says it good because she has a good Southern accent. She's like, it's because you're from the city, Diane. And but anyway, rural,
Row.
yeah, rural. Anyway, those why did you decide? Was it something you heard? Was it a podcast? Was it something you read? And tell us about that. And then why you decided to execute it in this woodcut way.
I was thinking about music as it pertains to the Black community for quite some time when it comes to ABCs. I would have done this, probably years ago, but I feel like, okay, it's been on my mind. Let me actually do it this year. And this is before Ken Burns. Ken Burns apparently did a docu-series on the history of country music and the different people that, a part of that. I never really got to see it, but I heard bits and pieces. There was a cool website, and I'll post that site. I can't remember it now, that covers a lot of Black Americans in the different music genres over the decades or centuries in the United States. And the country part came up and folk came up. And then I realized, wow, there's a lot more people than I realized in this thing. And no, we never really hear about this. And I don't know much about it. Let me dig deeper. And sure enough, I find out about the history of the banjo and just a collection of things that are just fantastic. And it's not a shortage. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
If you know where to look and just dig a little deeper and you realize, oh, wow, look at this history. I have to cover it. And that easily becomes the ABCs. That's enough for me to run with it. And that's what's going on right now.
So then why this style?
This style, I work with Retro Supply a lot. Love everybody there. Love Dustin and Suzanne and Bailey. Love everybody. Sure, because that's me. But they have an awesome assortment of different digital brushes that are fantastic. They always lend to the whole vintage retro look. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do rural,
you could say
rules,
it. Yeah.
I had to commit to that. Like, am I prepared to say this thing? Yeah, sure. There's a woodcut and a wood block, and they have their different brushes there. And the font was there by our friend Brian White.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have all the elements there. And it works for the rule thing. Let me do that. I've not done any wood block or woodcut. Let's go.
So it wasn't too scary for you to do kind of a new style. I think I can see where your style's coming, but you're doing it in a different way. So you're taking this as a challenge instead of like, it has to be perfect. I have to know how to do this. It's like a different mindset of you're like, I'm going to figure this out. I love how this looks. I'm going to study it and I'm going to prepare. How far in advance? You say you think about it all throughout the year, but when did you start like coming up or doing the research and knowing you were going to use like a harmonica or D Ford Bailey for D? Like when do you make, because you're not doing that on the day of the 4th day of February.
No. You're sketching early on. You have these letters. Then you have to decide, first of all, just like before, do we have photos for everybody? This is a time period that covers many, many decades. And some of those decades did not capture. A lot of people were not even known. So, you're fortunate to get some kind of photo. Actually, that's more than one. So if they do have a photo, then okay, I could do that. But then some of these folks are known for a lot of the instruments.
Hmm.
Lead Belly, who was yesterday, was known for having this huge guitar, way bigger than that was necessary. So I'm like, okay, early on, am I going to do Lead Belly or am I going to do the guitar? Yeah, let me do the guitar just to change it up because I can have a bunch of folks, their faces there, or I can mix it up, have some faces, or have what they were known for, or a thing that symbolizes them, or a part of their narrative. So, and that leads to a very diverse, as you can see with that feed. You know, it's not boring because I've done the all faces thing before. That was great, but you learn each time to kind of kick it up a notch.
Well, and you need a new challenge, and you're open for the challenge. But you have figured out what every letter is going to be by the beginning of February, you'd say?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And
yeah,
then,
by then, yeah, unless our letters have changed, and there's still 26 last I checked. And because February has generally, when it's not a leap year, you have 28 days you're playing with. I like to have the first day to hello, how you doing, intro, and then the last day is close, closing it out.
but I love how you now have incorporated the carousel where you're teaching us a little bit. It's not overwhelming. You're not using all 10 slides to teach
Right,
us something. You're teaching however many slides you need to get across.
right.
And it's easy to read on your phone with if you have glasses, you're probably going to need your glasses. I mean, it's not tiny, but it's
I
a
think, and that's how I think about it, because I have to wear these glasses for my screens. So yeah, I can see this on my iPad and my phone, but I have to be mindful that a lot of people are going to see this on their phone. So I try to make the text a little larger. Um, you know,
Yeah, and I'm glad. Okay, so we've done you have themes, you decide the theme. Do you think you knew the theme by October?
yeah, I was pretty set on it. Yeah, I didn't have the rural roots part
Right?
of it, but I would imagine for me, my brainstorming happens in the shower. When I hit the shower, that's when I'm thinking like, okay, um, this is how I should have the way ABCs in February. Will I do it in colors or some red, black, and green, or just going to be all black? This is monochromatic. That you work out a lot of those details. I do early on. Um, some things do come on the fly, like even now, as far as with these letters, and I'm making changes. An O was going to be this person. I had written it for this person, months ago, but I just ran across another O because I'm still doing my research and still digging.
Mm,
Now I'm making that change. You'll never know.
right.
But that person did have a last name. So now that first person O, maybe I could use that last name for a different letter, and just you're constantly kind of working that whole thing out.
But somehow it doesn't stress you out, or it doesn't seem to stress you out.
No, when you are working with people in a collection of, well, when you work with people and they coming from their different paths, or you have children, or whatever the situation in your life, we learn to adapt and hopefully not stress out super, super easy. After years of the hospital, especially during COVID, I think doing a letter is okay. Yeah,
You're like, I can fit that in.
yeah, and not too much of a problem.
And so that's the other thing I like, that if although it is normally 28 days, and that makes sense
Mm-hmm.
to have a opener and a close, that there
Right,
is some flexibility if you did this in another month, that or if someone was doing an ABC project, they have some flexibilities on other days, so they need to not stress themselves out. But what has doing this for 6 years, what has it done to you as you've stretched? Do you feel like I've got this style now, and like you feel more confident, or what has it done to you as an illustrator?
I do feel you can't help but feel way more secure. Nothing's perfect. I don't know wood block and wood cut uh, super deep. I mean, I would do stuff in college with linoleum or
Right,
wood
right.
there, but so the look of it it's enough to where folks would recognize what's happening. But the professionals are like, yeah, no, this looks like, sure, whatever. But I'm trying. I want to learn. Uh, for me, it helps in the evolution of whatever I think is my number one style of art, because a lot of that stuff does come back to that, and it does make it better, even if it's just in increments. So I see it as, I always want to do more mid-century looking things. I love that time period and that look. And if I could get closer and closer to it, then it's a mission accomplished. I want to do. The goal is to cover a lot of mid-century things the way they would appear, but showing different people that weren't necessarily covered during that time period. So that's kind of a goal of mine. We're not rewriting, because those people existed. That stuff was happening. It just wasn't necessarily recorded.
Right.
So, I
Or
like the idea.
publicized, right?
More,
So
right.
luckily some things were recorded, but
Some things were
we
recorded.
just didn't, it wasn't highly publicized. So it's just giving a ladder or a lift for those stories, which I think is
Absolutely.
really, really good and important, because it's part of all of our
Absolutely.
stories. So if somebody, I just want to kind of paint the picture. So you have a full-time job, you
Yes.
do a good bit of freelance, and you're a dad of 3, and you're a husband, and you run and you meditate and you do all kinds of things. How, if you were trying to convince somebody, maybe convince isn't the right thing, but why should somebody that is busy, that has these things, why should they pour some time into them to learn and to grow in an area?
We see now, especially more than ever, that your mental health is super important. And for you want to pull yourself out. Like for me, my escape would be drawing, or, but that's also what I do during my day to day. So it could still be my escape, but it would probably be better if I did something a little bit different, just so I can come back to this and feel like I'm refreshed. So if it has to be meditation or video games or going outside to, play with the kids, just something different. My middle kid loves Legos, huge into Legos, loves building. I'm sitting there with them and build with them. Let's do some things that don't involve a screen. Those are the things that, you want to do, whether it's a hobby or just something different. We do these things so that we can stay fresh and to keep our head clear. And this is a part of it. This is no different than any other thing when it comes to mental health. So
it's part of your mental
Yeah.
health, like what keeps you healthy.
Yes, that's why a person would want to do it. As busy as you may be, no one said you had to invest everything into this side thing. It may just be buying a little Lego minifig set and building a little something. Just take the time out to do something like that, and then go back to what you're doing. Take a break. Give yourself some grace and take a break.
Okay, so I got to get some of these questions answered. So
yes,
we're going to rapid fire the rest in the last 4 minutes.
That's fine.
So what unexpected benefits have you had from doing these ABCs of February? And have they been different every year?
Yeah. The learning, everything is so different, and there's so much to learn that things we don't necessarily get in school, or you learn better as an adult. It's coming to me, and I mean, it never gets old. So I absolutely love that. Take away something different every year. You can't help but to, because it's always a new thing.
Yeah.
There's so much out there to learn.
Well, and I think about this, if you're learning something on Skillshare and you're doing one project, it's a lot different than doing learning something on Skillshare and then doing 30 projects or 28 projects or 26 projects that are all kind of cohesive. That's a different type. That's a deeper, because you have to expand and push yourself and work within. So there's you do some shorter learns, and then you do these longer learn projects. Is there something, do you like that amount of space between October and February for like a longer challenge?
Yeah. I'll kind of count on that so that the latter part of my year is clear for stuff like that. And then throughout the year, the early months, I can do small challenges, or it could be as simple as, for me, I see an article and I'm like, you know what? I don't think enough people are going to read this. If I were doing a magazine spot or just a spot illustration, what would I do? And then I can do that illustration and just put a little bit of that news info in my post. And now people see that. They understand where I'm coming from with that. And it's a good challenge, just in case maybe you do want to do more spot illustrations. Well, now you have a little something on your Instagram so that people can see, okay, maybe you are capable. Come in. Maybe you could do one from my highlights, or maybe not highlights. That'd be awesome. But whatever the magazine.
Yeah, you should dream big. I mean, I think you could do highlights, no problem.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that magazine for kids, I loved that magazine.
Oh,
that's what you're talking about, right?
Yes, it's alive. It's alive after all these years. So there's a reason why it has a fan base.
Yeah. Okay. So then, what are some of the hardest parts that you would have if it was me or somebody else that's listening? What would you have them get ready for in regards to like these bumps that might come up? So, what can they do to not get derailed?
You saw in my feed, one of the years I had a child at a trampoline park ended up injuring himself, had to get stitches near his eye. And I posted on my stories, I think, hey, folks, here's a picture of the kid. Can't post right now because I'm a little tied up. Everybody, of course, understood, but know that you have your audience and you have a certain relationship with your audience. If something happens, let them know. Tell them, I forgot this week about a day because I thought I posted and I'm doing all sorts of stuff and realized I didn't post. So later that evening, I think it was actually the day before yesterday, like, hey, my bad, missed a letter. We'll double up coming up. Don't worry. But this is what you have to look forward to tomorrow. And, so things are going to happen. It's cool. People understand. Just let them know what's going down. So that's not stress on you, no stress on them. And it'll be forgotten. At the end of the day, you'll go back and you'll see all of the letters or all of whatever your project is. And you'll forget about the little hiccups for you to be just one fluid thing.
But to me, that little hiccup, here's your little hiccup, right? But really what was beautiful about that is that you remind people that you're a dad and you have your priorities, and your priority is, yes, doing these illustrations, but my kids come first. And I love that.
Right. That's how it works.
All right. So what is something that you've learned about yourself in the last year? So since maybe the last time you've done ABCs of February, that's been most impactful to your life or business, or both?
Last ABCs, I was working with Josh, and we had done the project before. We're going to do another one, I'm sure, in the future. So I got to see that, I can collaborate with, two different styles sometimes we're coming from. I can see that I can collaborate. We can finish a project. That's one more thing I feel super good about. I was doing all these things by myself, but to know I could do one successfully with somebody and we still have a speaking relationship. We're still very cool with each other. I love them to death. That stuff is important. So I learned, hey, I can do that. Now when I go into solo like I'm doing now, it's back to what I was doing before, with the added bonus of Josh is there to like, hey, I love your post from whatever day. And I have his support. and I have his take on different things. So it's not just me by myself. It's now a collaborator, whether, a past collaborator, but still present, that stuff matters. So now I feel just more emboldened to do things because it's not just me. I do have the community, I have you, and I have another person that literally did the same thing with me. And we put our stuff out there together. And now we've shown other people that they can do it too. They can collaborate and come up with something. So it's one of those things, a rear view, where I just appreciate, because when you're in the middle of doing it, you can't, you're in the middle of the woods. You need to pull back and get a satellite view. And now there's more satellite view. So I can kind of reflect. And
I like that. That's good. And that goes with just what's important to you too. Just, I think community is really important for you. So
it is.
What are some things that you will hopefully do this week to recharge your batteries? Since this is the week for Love on Designers to recharge yourself.
This week.
Or you could talk about things that you do all the time.
Well, I have miles to go this month. But so far, there's a project we talked about that is complete now, a big project. I finished that today. An article, extra supply article done. All these different things early in the month. I'm like, oh God, it's going to be so much. I'm taking these things off slowly. This podcast here, that's one of these different things. So now, and eventually when I get towards the end of the month where I have to do a talk, I'll be nervous, but then I will get past it and I will do what I need to do, hopefully. And it's one of those things you reflect on and feel good about. And that it's the stuff that puts the wind in your sails. So it could push you further and further out. And that's kind of what I anticipate. And I look forward to. So it's constant learning and reflecting. That's what's happening right now.
Okay, I love that. And Jen Close said her friend, Katie McD, she does illustrations for highlights. And she said, you should get in touch with her. So I texted you her link. So,
Jen.
Okay. So you can do that. I love how that's how we work as a community, all of us. So I love the people who y'all get to come and you get to watch and learn and ride along with me. And I just appreciate you being here and just all the years that you do this. And I just love that it is this community and that there's things that Dameon's teaching us, but there's also things that we need. Dameon still needs to be lifted and post shared as well as we all do. So just love on some people this month. So Dameon, what is next for you? I know you have a talk at Creative Mornings coming soon. So if you guys are in the Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area, they can see you when.
That will be on the 24th. Creative Mornings. So, it's going to be in the morning time, the 8:00 hour. Are you up for it? I'm going to have more stuff posted on my Instagram coming up about the time and date and the location. And of course, it will be recorded so people can, after the fact, catch it.
Love that. Okay. So anything else we need to be looking out for from you?
Just hang on to the Instagram. If you follow me, I do some things on Twitter, but Instagram is where I'm primarily. And there you have the emails and my website and all the fun stuff. You can, go there and it will take you to everywhere else. You need to contact me. It's all there. Or harass Diane. She'll let you know.
That's right. I have all his digits. Okay. So I just want, in case, I got blurry. In case anybody is listening or watching, all the links for Dameon are right below this video. If you're on YouTube or if you're in the chat, I just popped them in. Or if this is, you can look at it on the Creatives Ignite website. But here is how you can find more about Dameon. DameonWilliams.com. And then you can see some of his work, and then Instagram.com/Dameon_Williams. And then there's a link tree on that has a bunch of things that he does, and the retro supply. You guys can use that. Maybe is that an affiliate link you got?
I think it is.
Oh, thank goodness. So then if you're going to buy some brushes, they're just burning in your pocket. You want to buy some brushes, use Dameon's link. Then he gets a little bit, doesn't cost you anymore. I love that. And that link is right underneath here as well. And then he also has some things for sale. And that is also, it was from the link tree, but I just copied it and pasted it. And that's in print, INPRNT. So no I in the print, in print.com/gallery/ I don't know how to say that word. Dominicus.
Dominicus. Yeah.
Dominicus.
DOMINACUS. So it's Dominicus. If you see that, it's using my email, Dominicus.
Right. But I don't know how to say that. So I really can't say rural. So anyway, join next week for more rural. But next week, not anything rural, actually. We are not going to be on. Oh, but we do have to, Dameon, will you choose? You're going to just randomly tell me when to stop, because I am scrolling back and forth. You just tell me when, and I'm going to choose a winner.
You should stop do it right now.
Oh, that was me. Okay. So, try again.
Okay. The ABC stop.
Okay. Oh, it's Shelby Arnett. You're our winner today. I will get with Shelby, and Shelby, I'm writing it down. I know you already left, but I will. You are one of the Love on Designer winners. We have one more winner to choose. I think we'll do two on next Saturday. More incentive for you to come on a Saturday. It'll be normal time, 2:30 p.m. on Saturday. Jody Collins. He is a illustrator designer in Tennessee. Maybe. Anyway, definitely designer. He's done AIGA stuff. He's been, he had a huge heart. I can't wait to have him on. And he has a job too. So he needed a Saturday show slot time. So I will see you guys not this next Wednesday, but the next Saturday, which is, I think, the 25th. So I hope you guys have a great day. I knew you had met him, Amy. He's really tall. And he has a card that says something about how tall he is. Anyway, it's because I'm really short and he's really tall. Anyway, but he's really nice. So Dameon, I hope you guys click on all those links and go support Dameon. And if you're going to buy retro supply, click on that retro supply button link.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
And just thank you so much for sharing this. And I'm excited to keep following. I like what I'm learning. I like to learn things. So I appreciate that you're teaching me and inspiring me at the same time. And
always.
I just love you, my friend. So I will see you soon, and I will see you at Creative South. And if anybody is interested in coming to Creative South and you want to volunteer, please email me at diane@creativesouth.com, and I'll send you a thing to fill out, and then you'll get a special code, and it's a half price ticket. So it's really, really good. And you only have to work for me for 6 hours, but not all in one slot. It's 2 hours on one day and 2 hours on another day and 2 hours on another day. And Dameon, how fast does 2 hours go?
They go by rather quickly when you're having so much fun. And I mean, you'll be volunteering with me.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And you can volunteer with Dameon. So it'll be awesome.
About it.
I know it'll be a treat. So I will see you guys not next Wednesday, but next Saturday. And I hope you guys have an awesome day. And Dameon, thank you so much.
Thank you. Love you all.
Bye, y'all.